Okay, so we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live. So happy you're here. Let's wait a little bit for people to start logging in. Hi, friends. If you're already logged in, make sure you say hi in the chat so we can actually know you're here with us. Right. Let's wait a few minutes. Welcome, everyone. So happy you're here with us to talk about The Intruder. Right. Okay, let's wait just a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm going to Barnes and Noble tomorrow to pick up the Antidote.
Oh, you're gonna get it? Okay.
Oh yeah, I was hitched that and Never Seen, the
Nice.
book about the after the slavery, people trying to find family members just intrigued me.
Yeah,
Intrigued me.
those were great
Yeah,
recommendations. Like I love that list.
yeah. That author has a couple other books that are Civil War related. One of them is about how the armies were given pornography during the Civil War, and
Really?
then one about the women, how women reacted to what their roles and what happened to them in the Civil War. So I'm
So
like
cool.
immediately interested. I read a book, that was a year before last. It was called The People's History of the Civil
Mhm.
War, and it wasn't a civil war like, oh, this battle happened and he took this flank and went that way. It broke down the various groups: women, men, the
So cool.
black people, free slaves, and
Mm-hmm.
how the Civil War affected them, what they did. It was really engaging. So yeah, when I was reading through what other books she had written, I was like, oh, I'm going to check that one out from the library. Check that one out from the library. So
I love it.
yeah,
Yeah, that video had a lot of good recommendations, and I think that's a
I
good
think
one for
Buckeye
us
is
to read.
the other one I have my eye on too.
I like that one too. There were honestly, I wouldn't. That's why when you guys were asking which one should we read from this list, I was like, I'm good with all of them. You
Yeah.
know. All right, so let's start seeing who's in the comments. Hi, Ariel. Thank you for being here.
I actually saw a video where somebody had listed The Intruder on one of the best books of 2025.
No way. Was that
Right?
your list? That was not my
It was
list.
not on my list for sure.
Oh,
I was actually thinking about it earlier, of her three new releases this year, which one I liked the best, and I think I had to go
okay.
with The Crash.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
thought of the three that she released this year that were brand new, I think I liked The Crash the best, and I didn't even think that was her best best work,
Yeah,
but of the three, that's kind of where I would have leaned.
I enjoyed the tenant. I actually liked that
Yeah.
one. I thought it was pretty good. All right. So let's go ahead and pop up some of our banners. So let's officially get this started. So welcome everyone. So happy that you are here with D and I. We are going to be talking about Freida McFadden's The Intruder, which we did as a buddy read, and we can't wait to tell you all about it and hear your thoughts on it. Um, I'm with Dee from the Reading Room 1972. So, Dee, if you would like to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your channel.
Just D. I have a channel, The Reading Room. I haven't been very active on it, so but I still like reading and coming on and having live streams for sure. So and definitely Freida McFadden's always one of the high points. I like discussing her novels with Isabel, but and unfortunately Michelle's not here with us. She's another one of our running mates when we do these Freida McFadden discussions. So
And I think Frida lends herself so well to these buddy reads
yeah,
and to live discussions because her books, even if whether you think they're the best ones or the worst ones, they always give you something to
yeah,
talk about. Like there's always, a lot for us to
yeah.
have some good conversations.
And she's
So,
everywhere. She's
yeah.
so popular right now. She's got the movie coming out this weekend of The Housemaid, and then they just announced, I believe, the teacher is going to be made into, I don't know if it was a movie or TV show. So I have a
Mm,
feeling next year we're going to be having a lot of Freida McFadden discussions.
I think so. She's everywhere. And the Goodreads had, I think, three of her books were up in the mystery thriller category, which a lot of people had opinions about. But she definitely is loved by the fans. Like,
Yes. Yep.
they really, really love her. So let's go ahead and move on to asking you guys, has anyone in the chat read The Intruder? Have you read it? Are you planning on reading it? What's going on with that? Let us know. D, maybe talk to us a little bit about those new releases. What has she released this year? You have your little list there. Which ones
So
have you read? Let's talk about that for a
so
bit.
she had 3 brand new releases this year. In January, she released The Crash. I think it was mid-month she released, or mid-year she released The Tenant, and then in October was The Intruder. So those are her 3 brand new that she had written and were published. And then what's happening with her is some of her older catalog that was on an older publisher, because she's become so popular, has been being re-released, which was this year Do Not Disturb, and what was the other one? The Surrogate Mother were the 2 that I'm aware of. So 5 technically new Freida McFadden stories made it out to fans and to new readers this year.
I believe I read Do Not Disturb of those. I'm not sure the Surrogate Mother. That sounds familiar, but I don't think I read that one.
I knew it was going to be creepy just because the surrogate mother thing, and then
Yeah,
when the person that's carrying the baby goes crazy,
yeah,
it
yeah,
was, yeah. But they were I enjoyed them. I thought I liked it. I liked Do Not Disturb. I thought that was pretty interesting. And
yeah.
then the surrogate mother, I like. She hasn't written a book that I haven't liked. I
Right,
think with Freida McFadden, because I mean she's up to about 20 plus books out with a lot of short stories. I find I either really enjoy them, she's just nailed plot twist, or she's nailed some aspect of it, or they're just kind of, well, okay, it was a good read.
correct.
It passed time for a couple hours, and I still want to read more Freida McFadden. I'm
Mhm.
really looking forward to the Dear Debbie coming out in January.
Yeah,
That's got my interest peaked. There was a sample chapter at the end of the Intruder that was I liked it. So
that's great. Yeah, I didn't read the sample chapter, but I have heard a couple people that have started reading it or got arcs or something, and they're liking it. The Tenant, we did actually do a buddy read on that. So if you guys are interested, that live is still up on my channel. We had a great time reading that with Michelle from Literary Me, and it was a great time. We enjoyed it. That was an interesting one, I think.
we
So
always have
yeah,
good discussions when we all get together. So
for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about The Intruder. So you're really good at this, D. So could you give us a spoiler-free summary of The Intruder?
okay, so it'll be quick because it is hard to do it without spoiling it. But basically, we start with the main character, and she has decided she wants to live off the grid. She kind of lives kind of out in the middle of nowhere in a cabin that the roof needs fixed. There's a tree she's concerned with because there's a very big storm that's coming in. That kind of sets the atmosphere
Mhm.
for the book. So she's concerned with all this, and that's the part of the story that's told in the present. And she alludes to having been a teacher, and something happened. She no longer is a teacher, which we don't really find out till much later in the book what happened. Then it goes to a before time with, and God, I'm sorry, I completely forgot the character's name.
Well, we have
um,
Ella. Hold on, because I made a little note for myself today. There's Casey and there's Ella.
okay, so Ella is the before story, and
Correct.
what you get with her is, I don't want to say that she's not popular. She's kind of one of the social outcasts at school. Her
Mhm.
mother is a just like textbook hoarder, which Freida McFadden does phenomenal describing some of the hoarding scenes and capturing that behavior.
It was
Um,
awful. Yeah.
she befriends a boy that initially you think is picking on her, and they become very good friends. Um, and then we go back to the present where a person is in Casey's shed with she got blood on her. She's got a backpack, a knife, and she coaxes her out of the shed. The girl Ella does not trust anybody. She's very defensive and just trying to, like, leave me alone, don't touch me. But
Yeah.
Casey gets her inside the cabin, cooks for her, to get her out of the storm. Eventually the tree crashes on the shed, and I think during that time Casey finds a notebook that she kind of hides away from
Hmm.
Ella because she really wants to know what's going on with this girl. And she kind of finds out that this girl is out to hurt somebody, and she kind of is wanting to figure out who. And that's I think that's the best I could do without
Yeah.
going into spoilers,
Without spoiling.
honestly. I mean, the
Yeah.
storm does play something into it. Ella does eventually leave the cabin to go do what she intends to do, and then Casey pursues her, and then that kind of is what brings all the narratives together toward the end of the book, with a few plots and twists that Freida McFadden
Mhm.
gives us along the way.
That's great. That's a great summary, D. I felt that from the beginning, this beginning part, I felt the beginning was really strong. Then for me, the middle was a little weak, and then it got strong toward the ending again.
Yeah.
That's at least how I felt. I also felt that it was very intense for a Frida. Like normally, it's not so action
Yes.
packed. Like I feel this is an action heavy book.
Yep.
So if you guys like that, you might enjoy that. And that premise alone, there's a lot of tension there because we know this storm is coming, the house is going to endanger her, and we also know that clearly there's going to be some sort of intruder, right? So we're like,
She
who's
establishes
this
threats
intruder?
very
Yeah,
early in the book, which is
correct.
I don't want to say it's not normal for her, but reading a lot of Freida McFadden, she generally builds up to the threats.
Yeah,
But in this one, I mean, the threats within the first probably
correct.
25% of the book.
Yeah. So I thought that was very different and interesting, and I liked it. And it's a trope I normally like, which is, characters are isolated, endangered because of the weather. Like, so things I had never seen her do before. We normally start with just character development and, that kind of a thing. So this was a kind of pretty unique beginning, I want
Yep.
to say. Okay, so we talked a little bit about some of the characters. Do you want to talk about some of the other characters in this
We
without
have
too
the
many
landlord.
spoilers just yet?
Yeah, I could do this without spoilers. So we have the landlord that owns a place, and that's kind of how the book starts. Is she's trying to convince the landlord to fix the roof, and he kind of hits on her, which kind of starts another little bit of an arc. We know she has a neighbor that also is concerned about her, and he's also kind of like, it's not safe here. He offers to fix the roof. He can't do it because the storm is practically on top of them. He's probably the other really main character. And then when we go to the before story, we have Ella's mom. We talked about her, the classic hoarder. The boy she befriends, that's kind of the social outcast bully that kind of
Anton,
the
yeah.
find out has the heart of gold type
Yeah.
mentality as you get to know him better. And I will say, I think I did like her characters in this book.
Yeah.
I thought she did really good with the characters.
Same.
Loses a little bit of steam once one of the spoilers hits, but again, like you said, it is probably one of her stronger starts to the book,
Yeah.
establishing the intensity and really giving you what the characters are, where their headspace is at.
Hmm. Definitely. I did like Anton's character a lot. I know at the beginning we meet him as kind of like an antagonist in the past, POV, which is Ella's. At first we don't like him because he's like a bully to Ella. He calls her smelly Ella. What is it that he calls her?
Yeah,
Smella or
yeah.
something like that. So he picks on her and stuff like that. But very quickly, once something happens, right? Um they become close and we end
Yeah.
up really liking him. Like at least I really liked him. I liked his
And
character a lot.
and that was one of her first spots where I don't necessarily want to is trapping the reader, but so we know Ella has a switchblade, and
Right.
then in the before story, what kind of brings Ella and I am blanking on character. You said Antoine.
Anton, yeah, it's
Anton.
Anton.
What brings them together is somebody's picking on him, and she ends up with a switchblade. So
Right.
that's Frida, kind of a little bit of a red herring once we get to spoilers, but she's trying to give you some
Mhm.
connections in the narrative, and
Yeah,
that's kind of where it starts with when Ella saves Anton himself from being bullied.
correct. Yeah. And I like that she plays to normal human emotion, right? So here's this woman, Casey, right, who's scared for her life, but then also wants to protect this child, right? So it's really building in on the fact that she's a former teacher and she cares about kids and she wants to protect them. So I thought it was pretty emotionally charged from the beginning, which is not usually how I feel about a Frida book. I don't really feel a lot of connection to the characters themselves, you know? I don't know if you feel like that, D, but
Well,
um
especially with Ella, because as you're reading in the hoarding seeds, you always feel bad for children that are either parents or hoarders. The,
correct.
the bad food, she doesn't have a place to do homework or
I
sleep.
know.
So yeah, Frida
The
did a
fish
really good
tank.
job as yeah,
The
and
fish
that's
tank.
why when her and Anton become friends, it becomes so
Yeah.
like, it's like one of those melt your heart moments that these two
Yeah,
outcasts have found each other. But at the
correct.
same time, Frida's holding this over your head
Yeah,
when when you as the reader are trying to connect threads between the before and what's going on in the present, you're like sensing tragedy almost. So
for sure. Definitely. Do you have a favorite character at this point, D, or without getting into spoilers, we could save that for later if you
not
want?
not not particularly. I just thought she did a good job with the characters, like kind of like you mentioned. I Freida McFadden books normally aren't slow burns, but she's not giving you this intensity and this much with characters this early on from a lot of the previous novels that I've read of hers. It's you're a third of the way into the story before you really start getting motives, emotions, how people are feeling. She's spending a lot more time setting scenes, and like I said, she uses the storm really well, and all
Agree.
that tumultuous with the emotions. So, but yeah, I don't think I necessarily had a favorite character. I once we get to spoilers, I did make the connection, although I didn't invest into it as to what I thought the twist was going to be.
Sure. I did find as far as characters and their behaviors, I want to talk a little bit about that. I did find that Casey behaved a little bit off at times or odd at times. Like, so I had trouble really believing her character or finding her believable. You know, when she's so scared of the little girl or
Yeah,
threatened by the little girl, or I didn't find that believable, I think,
yeah.
you know. So how did you feel about that?
I could see that, and once the narratives combine and you got the whole story, uh,
Yeah.
you kind of see some of it. I think what really kept bugging me was she kept referring to something that happened when she was a teacher,
Yeah.
and didn't elaborate on it. I mean, I don't doesn't really elaborate on it until really toward the end of the book, and I felt that maybe it should have been a little bit sooner to make her more sympathetic of a character. But at the
Sure.
same time, with the twist where you find out what the connection between Casey and Ella is, uh, Frida was walking a tightrope in this book. I thought
Yeah.
she's like things that maybe she would have told you earlier in previous novels. She had to kind of wait because she had a plan and she executed it.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this little ticker
Okay.
here.
Oh my god, thank you. Okay, so
The spoilers are happening
I,
because
I was
D.
addicted. I was addicted to the Hoarder Show, and I psychology major, so I
Uh-huh.
love understanding behavior,
Yeah.
and so I know from reading that children that are have parents that are hoarders that are brought up in hoarders can go the opposite way with it and want
Right.
that minimalism in their lives. So at
Yeah.
one point in the story, I told myself, I was like, I wonder if Casey and Ella are the same person, because that would make sense that you grew up as a hoarder, but now Casey wants nothing to do with that lifestyle. And
So
I
cool.
didn't lean into it. I just popped it on my mind, and lo and behold, what we find out is the Ella that's being discussed in the past is actually Casey in the present. She's the girl.
that this book did plot twist, I think, really well. I did not think that. I fell for the little girl in the before is this little
Yeah,
girl, because it's the way it's just it had to be. There were so
yeah,
even down to the switchblade
yeah.
situation, right? Like it just felt like it had to be her. So I never thought, and I know I should have known because I Frida does the name thing. She's done the name thing before.
Yes.
Like how we call people a certain thing and then
Yep.
another one. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. So she's done this before, but this totally, I was blindsided. I really
Well,
was.
anytime I read Freida McFadden, knowing how good she can be with a plot twist, I question everything coming along. And so,
Yeah.
like I said, the pop that popped in my head, I just
Yeah.
didn't lean into it. I was like, okay, this could be the same person. And then by the time that maybe I would have wanted to lean into it more, Frida got me. He's like, yep, they're the same person. Here's
Yeah.
how her life as Ella has affected her life as Casey.
But I love that connection that you made, that this is a reason for her minimalistic lifestyle.
Yep.
Like that's why she wants to live this kind of lifestyle,
Yep.
because she has this trauma
Yep.
from, the hoarding mother. So of
Yep.
course she's gonna, be like that. So I thought that was great. So
Okay, so you
I'm
said you
gonna
didn't lean into Casey as a character. So now that we're in the spoiler territory, we find out that Ella, Casey,
Mhm.
basically killed her mother by setting the house on fire. So she'd had enough basically after Anton basically was defending Ella, beat up a popular girl, and
Mhm.
ended up going to jail for it.
Yeah.
And of course, mom's going to forbid and play the blame game. And at that point, Ella was like, nope, had enough. Not going to do this. Grow up
Yeah.
the whole time, never knowing her father. So, I mean, that it launched so much once she, killed her mom. And then now again, you're starting to make those connections between Casey and Ella being the same person. And
Correct.
now you understand why she is so drawn to the girl that's made it to her
Yeah.
in the present, and what she might be doing that's bad.
And it still makes us wonder, right? Like the connection of this little girl then. Like, is it a random occurrence? Why is the little girl there? So then we're trying to figure that part out. Like, why is the little girl there? Like, how did she end up in her cabin?
Yeah.
You know? So
And it's
that
probably
that
about that
leads
time. And it's probably about that time too that you start realizing that, this. So Elle, as a child, didn't know her father. The girl that's in the cabin with Casey, who's Ella, doesn't know who her father is, and then now she makes a connection of her neighbor up the road.
right. So let's then talk a little bit. So we talked about the one big plot twist, right? Because we know with most Frida books, we can expect a couple of them, right? Like,
Yep.
that's something we know happens. Up until the end, we can always
Yep.
expect yet one more. So we had the plot twist of Ella and Casey being the same person,
Yes.
right? And then at that point, we're like, okay, so then who is this little girl?
Yep.
And so then we start to make connections with Lee, right?
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit about that?
So I can't believe I'm spacing on the character's name. What was the girl's name?
The So we have Ella, who is Casey in the past,
Yeah.
and then the little girl.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm blanking on character
The
names.
little girl is Lee. No,
Lee.
Lee is the neighbor. Lee's the neighbor.
Okay.
Nell, it's Nell.
Nell. Okay, Nell. There we go. So Nell and,
Yeah.
and Lee are the. I'm sorry. I'm just double checking a character sheet. I don't know why I'm blanking on the characters here, but
Yeah.
so Nell is looking for her father for information about her father, which Casey can relate to, not knowing her father. Now Casey did get to go live with her father after she killed her mother. I'm just gonna put that after she killed her mother, she did get to
Mhm.
go live with her father, who did install some values and things into her, and then he eventually passed away. So again, it's almost like she's seeing a version of herself in Nell. So when Nell
Correct.
takes off to go see Lee to confront him about father mother situation. Um, Casey follows, and we find out that Lee is actually her uncle. And what we find
Correct.
out is that Nell is Anton's daughter.
Yeah.
He uh, got out from beating up the girl, had relationship, had a daughter that he didn't know about, and then he went to prison for murdering his father, who beat on
Right.
him and his brother. So
Yeah.
she ties all these people together, and it was
Correct.
I didn't see that I didn't see that one coming. I wasn't
Nope.
sure how I didn't think Nell was going to be any way related to anybody. I just figured it was going to be a driving
Right.
force for more of Casey's character, but it's what
I
brings
knew.
Anton back into the story.
Yeah, I knew she had to be there for a reason because remember she had the map.
Yep.
You know how in the notebook she had the map that she had to go there. So
Yes.
I knew that she had the map for a reason.
Yep.
But what I completely forgot was then what is the connection then with Lee and Casey? And it's not until I remember like the little brother
Yeah.
that everything kind of like,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
unfolds.
Yeah. And that it popped in my head. And again, it was something I didn't really lean into that. Okay.
Right?
He's somehow tied to to the brother. And, we established early on that Anton had a brother when he was friends with Ella, because when he'd went over, he'd met Ella. He was crazy about Ella as a little kid. So,
Exactly. He had a crush on
and
her.
yeah, but she did I thought Freida did a good job, because sometimes you can introduce that character and then introduce something right after, but she put enough space and plot twist in between so that by the time that you did get that connection, you got that aha moment, and then you got that, oh, that's right, because back in this part of the
Yeah.
book, this happened. So,
Yeah.
and that's where you find out that basically he asked his brother to look out for her. He's, after all this
Correct.
time, she is believed he's dead, but he's been in
That's
prison.
another plot twist,
Yep.
right?
Yep. She thought he was dead, but he's in
He's
prison. He
alive.
just didn't want her to know what happened, but he still wanted the brother to look out for her because he still cared for her. And then, of
Mhm.
course, the rub on that is the brother's fallen in love with her, but
Correct.
he won't do anything until it gets to that point where something has to be done. And by the end of the book too that Casey has feelings for Lee.
Yeah.
So
How do you
I
yeah.
go ahead.
How did you feel about Casey knowing that Lee is hiding something from her, but being okay with it? You know,
I think because she just has her guard up in general, that yeah, she
okay.
suspects something, but I think
Hmm.
the with what was happening with Nell was overriding probably that,
Yeah.
and she did feel, because I thought one of the things why I necessarily didn't think the landlord character was needed, but it was such I think Frida used him to contrast. So the landlord hits on her. He does come back and
Right.
say, I'm sorry. He's actually what drives the thing that Lee knew her actual name. That kind of
Yeah.
sparks this second part of the plot
Correct.
twist. But I think to give you that comparison between the landlord and Lee, that landlord, yeah, he seems like he's kind of a scumbag, but he's an okay guy. He was concerned about her, and you know why. He wanted to fix her with you know why. So I guess with the overriding concern over Nell, yeah, Lee was hiding something from her, but she wasn't ready to let it ruin what was going to
Correct.
happen with him and Nell, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Um I really I that's why I feel like that middle part was my least favorite. When she feels threatened by the little girl, when the little girl is gonna attack her or playing mind games with her. I didn't really
Takes her
like
gun.
that part.
Yeah,
Yeah, takes her gun and like threatens her until she thinks she's gonna die.
yeah.
Like that whole part was not my favorite, but I feel the beginning was very strong and I feel like the ending was great. I really do feel like she again, but she does ending so well. This is
Yeah.
usually Frida books for me at the end are wonderful. I feel like she ties everything together beautifully.
I
So I enjoy that.
I so now talking about it, it's what I like about having live discussions, because now talking about, you know as you and I are kind of discussing somehow we thread things together. I'm
Hmm.
realizing some things that I didn't like about the book that, okay, maybe I looked at that wrong. I
Yeah.
know my initial concern with the book when I got done with it is, are you familiar with Chekhov's gun theory?
Yeah.
Anton
Yeah,
Chekhov.
of
Okay,
course.
so Frida introduced a lot of things in this book: the storm, the tree, the journal. I mean, there was a lot, and I'm trying to track all these, thinking, okay, these are going to come into play. These are going to come into play, and like the roof, it came into play, but not in a big way, even though
Right.
it was such a focus of that first chapter. So I felt, I don't know if I want to say she overextended trying to plot twist this, because I'm having second thoughts now that,
Hmm.
as we've seen, as you and I have discussed it, sometimes I just like my plot twists simple,
Yeah.
and I'm just wondering. I know when, after The Sixth Sense came out with M. Night Shyamalan's movie and
Yeah.
Unbreakable, he got locked at this where
Yeah.
people were expecting to go to his movies and just be wowed by plot twist.
Yeah.
And I was wondering as I was reading this book, is that something either Frida has fallen into as a writer, or we have fallen into as readers, expecting. And
Yeah.
I I still think she did a little too much, but
Yeah.
now that we've talked about it, I'm like, okay, okay, yeah. Now certain things are kind of clicking in and making a little bit more sense, I guess.
Yeah. I think it was good enough on the plot twist. I think authors, thriller authors, have pressure to build on the plot twist. Like
Yep,
there always has to be like one more. I really
yep.
felt that way with Riley Sager. I'm not sure, D, if you've read a lot
I
of
haven't
Riley
read Riley
Sager or
Sager
any
yet.
at all. There was one, that one, the only one left. I felt in the only one left, there must have been 10 plot twists
Wow.
toward the ending,
Yeah,
one after the other. And it was just like, I actually wrote on my review, like, too many plot twists
yeah,
because it was just, it felt like it was just too much. So I think that's a good question to pose of thriller readers. Like, is
yeah,
there ever too many plot twists? Like, can it be overdone?
yeah. I
Like,
didn't think that there was too many. Is I don't know. Like I said, you keep it simple. You introduce things, and you kind of stray away from them, and then you bring them back and highlight how they were important to the story. And it felt
yeah.
like all right. So the tree and the storm and the roof, it all seemed like they were going to be major players, but it ended up being like, okay, well, the switchblade, that was going to be a major player. No, it wasn't. The handgun, well,
Yeah.
that wasn't really a major player, but we kept getting these plot twists. I think what you said about maybe the middle of the novel is what's resonating me with the most, because I do believe it was a great start. Yeah, I do feel, I think toward the center of the novel, she's playing this cat and mouse game with Elle and
Yeah.
Nell in the cabin. Probably maybe drag down some of the momentum, and
Hmm.
by the time she's revealing the plot twist, maybe me as a reader, I wasn't as invested
Hmm.
in how she got there, because it just
Yeah.
felt like I felt like she was all over the place a little bit. Everything,
Hmm.
as we talked about it, everything did get kind of tied up in a nice, neat little
Right.
bow. But I don't know. I'm having second thoughts as we as we
Yeah.
kind of go through this.
I agree. And for me, it was like I told you, like behaving out of character, which is one of the first things I asked you, because I felt like when she sees the drawing of like the dead woman and she's
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, that's me. She drew me
yeah,
and wants to kill me.
yeah,
And then she's like, oh, this little girl's gonna kill me. I'm like, how do you
yeah,
feel this 8-year-old's gonna kill you?
yeah,
Like seriously, you're a grown ass woman. Like, why do
yeah,
you are you really scared of this little girl? Like
yeah,
you're being I thought it was a little bit, wild
yeah,
for her to react that way to the
yeah.
little girl, you know?
And even when you find
Um,
out she got fired because when was she trashed a cop car or something, because the
yeah.
guy that was abusing his daughter.
Using the
Basically,
girl.
what it came down to is she is protective of children.
Correct.
She
For
she
obvious
protected
reasons.
herself as a child, killed her mom,
Correct.
went and in essence, I guess, I don't, she didn't save Nell's mom, but she didn't
Correct.
really. She, I can't remember if she killed her or not. No, she just didn't
If
save her.
who
She didn't call
knows?
her an ambulance.
Right, but
So
it's because of her. Like she allowed the house to burn down. She set the
yeah,
house on fire.
yeah. but when she went, because remember Nell was beating on, not Nell. Nell's mom was beating on Nell. The
Hmm.
mom, her and the boyfriend had a fight. The boyfriend
Right.
ended up stabbing her.
Oh,
So
yes, yes, yes,
Casey,
yes,
I'm sorry,
yes.
Casey goes, we're kind of after the storm ends, finds her, and
Correct.
it's just like, oh well, we're not going to call you an ambulance. We don't need to do that,
Correct.
and
Correct.
lets her die.
Let's her die.
So kind of what you find out with her character through, I mean, with in essence are kind of horrible things. You've killed your mom, you let this other mom die, is that she's
Correct.
overprotective of children.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and I think maybe that,
I totally forgot that. Now that you mentioned that,
yeah,
again, it's been a minute since we've
yeah,
read this,
yeah, it was
but
October. Yeah.
but I
Casey was
remember.
not a good character. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. I understand. Yeah, you want to be protective of children, and you did what you did as a child, but she wasn't. I guess you could say Lee was the character you were rooting for, because he was going to
Yeah.
take care of Nell and take her in and take
Yeah.
pictures to his brother and
I love
do all
that.
that. So yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a lot. There was a lot to this book, I think,
Yeah.
and I do think now. Again, like I said, with with it starting off so well and bogging down, then at the end, maybe I felt like I was just inundated with, you
Mm-hmm.
know, oh, this is happening. This guy, and now this, and she's gonna go. Just yeah, and then like when Lee and Nell decided they were gonna basically be her alibi. Oh, well, you were
Mm-hmm.
with us in the cabin the whole time. We don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. And that's just covering up for the fact that she went and
Correct.
did this to Nell's mother.
I mean, I love that, and I love Lee's character. I don't know. I love that we got to see him as a little boy,
Yeah,
and then we got to see him, loving or looking up to both Casey
yeah,
and Anton, and now like he's all grown up, and he's
yeah,
still like now he's looking out for them. Like
yeah.
I like that whole
It's like
journey.
each character had something happen to them in their childhood that shouldn't happen. And
Yeah,
when you're abused as a child or you have rough childhoods, it could go a couple different ways. You could end up in prison like Anton did, or you can become this caring individual that's going to take in your brother's daughter, like
yeah,
Lee did. You can go the way Casey did, and not have any qualms about going and doing what she did. Everybody carried their childhood abuse differently.
correct. I love though how Anton was so moved when Casey saved his life, that's I think why he ultimately does that to the girl, because he
Yeah.
wants to protect her at all costs
Yes.
too.
And
And I
I mean,
love that Casey.
they were seconds from
Yeah.
kissing before that girl came out and did that. I
Yeah.
mean, I was
Yeah.
literally like, oh, these two are going to hook up, and then
Yeah.
Freida takes us off in a different direction. So
Yeah. And I like that, like it goes to show you how Casey was always about doing the right thing, because
yeah,
even though this is her bully who is getting now, attacked by another bully,
yeah,
she still feels it's wrong because he's defenseless. He doesn't have a
yeah,
weapon, so it's not a fair fight. So she
yeah,
wants to defend him, even though he's the kid that's ruining her life in school.
yeah,
So it kind of says a lot about her character, how
yeah.
she's fair and she wants to do right by people, and so
She wants to
I
do right
liked
by people, but
that.
not necessarily the right way. And I think maybe that's
Correct.
her character is very conflicted. I think as far as I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
going to read that character and be like, oh, good for her. That's if you are
Right.
going to treat kids like that, then that's perfectly acceptable way to answer. So I think
Yeah.
there's I think talking it out. Frida gave us a very character where 50-50, you can either really buy into what she did because of what happened to her,
Yeah.
or you can be like, no, this is not a character
Right.
I would root for.
Yeah. I mean, and we're talking about like big abuse though, like, locking her in that room,
Yep,
hours on end
yep,
with like all the smelly, spoiled food,
yep,
the cigarette burns. I think
yep.
both of them had cigarette
They
burns,
both,
right?
yeah, they
Yeah.
both had cigarette burns. So
So, yeah.
yeah,
Talking about the
basically
plot
Casey
twist.
just looked at Nell as a version of her, and actually
Correct.
I think she did allude to this in the book that Casey's journey led her to wanting to murder her mother, but she didn't want that for Nell. She wanted Nell to go
Correct.
a different path. So,
Correct.
and I think that's, now that we've talked it out, is what I'm starting to realize that I maybe didn't catch the first time in the book, because I was
Yeah.
focused on plot twist and when did I know this and what did I think about that character. But Freida
Hmm.
gave us an interesting set of characters, and this
Yeah.
isn't your shut and dry, oh yep, she was 100% correct. I think, like I said, people can be divided on what Casey
Yeah.
did, but she ultimately did do it to make life better for Nell.
Correct.
So
And at first I was a little bit at first I thought, oh, what a coincidence, that this little girl has the same story as Casey, right? What a
yeah,
coincidence.
yeah,
But in now talking to you about it, it makes sense because trauma breeds trauma breeds trauma.
yeah,
So this little girl is a product of Anton and that traumatic relationship. And Anton is a child that had trauma. So of
yeah,
course he's going to choose a crappy partner and not be able to be there for his daughter and not
yeah,
be able, you know what I mean? So it's gonna
yeah.
happen. Like that cycle of trauma.
And
So
and
not
that's what I didn't
coincidence.
catch, I guess, when I read initially, that all the characters with the trauma and the abuse is, where did they end up? How did they deal with that? Anton ended up in prison. Lee ended up okay. Casey, again, debatable, but in the end, they were all there to make sure that the trauma that Nell had gone through wouldn't necessarily push her in a negative direction. So there's a lot more. I,
Correct.
I guess if I reread this book, I probably would focus more on how the trauma between all the characters is tying everything together. And then again, it makes the
Correct.
storm much more thematic. And
Yeah.
there's always, after every rain, there's a rainbow. So I mean,
Right.
I get, there may be more thematically here that I miss, because I'm just not used to digging for those type of things in Freedom McFadden novels.
Yeah. Which now makes me feel like my rating is kind of harsh. So we'll talk about that now
Yeah,
in 1 second. I know you don't rate things, but start
yeah,
thinking because I'm gonna ask you if you
yeah,
were to rate it, what would you rate it? So Ariel says that he thinks there definitely can be too many plot twists,
yeah,
that it can feel gimmicky and cheap.
yeah,
And yeah, I think so. And I think as readers, we have become accustomed to the plot twist and we're like, but that's it. There was only one plot twist. Like,
yeah.
and we want more, but at what cost, right? Like at the cost of
It's a
the
tough balance,
character.
because we as readers get smarter. I've read probably about half of Freedom McFadden's catalog, so I know,
Right.
I'm almost challenging myself when I read Freedom McFadden to guess the plot twist before it comes, because I want to prove
Correct.
I'm smart enough to see what's
Yeah.
coming. So I think that's the balance between, yeah, we want our plot twist, but we're also smarter, more invested readers. So that makes it more challenging for the authors to give us satisfying,
Right.
simple plot twist.
Exactly. And I think sometimes like that restraint goes a
Hmm.
long way, like just limiting it to one really good,
Yeah,
plot twist without it having to be like one thing after the other.
because she's
All right.
done one plot twist, two plot twists, quite a few plot twists. She's done the spectrum, and she's
Yeah.
executed simple plot twists as well as complicated plot twists. But now she's become
And I
such a prolific author and we have so much more. We've got 20 some odd books to compare, Freedom McFadden books to compare with each other now,
yeah.
that it's making it again challenging for her as an author as well as us as readers.
I have to admit though, I do look forward to her middle of the book plot twist. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh yeah.
about you, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want it to just be at the end. I look forward to
Yeah.
what's that first plot twist gonna be? Like,
Yeah.
and how hard is it gonna hit, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
So, all right, D. So, I rated this 3 stars, and now I'm thinking maybe I should have rated it a little higher because as usual, after you have a live discussion or you talk about things with other
Yeah.
people, like it changes your opinion a little bit. And I think I might want to give it like a 3.5 star or something. I think it deserves more. What if you were to rate it? What would you give it?
I'm still in the 3 star, I think.
Okay.
I like I said, I agree with the middle bogged down. I just felt she was giving us a lot in the beginning, knowing that we as readers are going to try to connect these to her plot twist and everything that moves on, and it was just too much, I thought. Um, on a reread, maybe I would go a bit higher because I think I would probably start focusing a little bit more on the characterization,
Mhm.
which is not something I guess I'm used to with a Freida McFadden novel. I want the story, the plot twist, wow my
Yeah.
socks off. And I think in this one that maybe I missed what she was doing with the characters a little bit more in depth. So
Okay. So both of us pretty much are somewhere in the
yeah,
3.5 rating for this. If you are here, let us know in the comments if you did read The Intruder. What did you rate it? I would love to know. D. So if we were to compare this to movies or books, did you find any that you think you could compare this to? Maybe, possibly.
off the top of my head, I it's probably had something I would think about. I really it was interesting because when you set a story and you're isolating characters in a storm in that intensity, it's common, but for some reason this didn't feel common. The story didn't feel
Yeah.
common the way she crafted it. So it
Hmm.
makes it a little bit more difficult. I mean, even if I just kind of glance at books, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I would compare this to. How about you?
I can't. And what I find most interesting is that it did not read like a Frida book. Like
No.
I did not feel like it was too intense, too high action packed. Normally she relies on character stuff, right? Character dynamics and
Yeah.
character development to build her stories.
Yeah.
This was very situational,
Yeah.
you know? So it
I
didn't
might
even feel
go
like a Frida book.
Cabin in the Woods. It had a
I
cabin in
was
the
gonna
woods
say
feel
Cabin
of
in
it.
the Woods.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
kind of you had a set of isolated characters. I mean, there wasn't much plot twist in that, but these characters are isolated not only within the cabin, but within the larger
Yeah.
going on to things like is this apocalypse really happening, and do we really have to
Yeah.
sacrifice somebody? So I think maybe that isolation is kind of and again, like I said, it's begging for a reread for me. Just
Mhm.
like I said, this is the first time I think I've read a Frida book and then talked about it and then questioned how I
Yeah.
experienced it.
Some parts of it reminded me a little bit of that book, The Woman in the Window. The Woman in the Window, I think it is.
I don't think I've read that.
There's a movie for it too, but the fact that there's a woman in her house by herself, there's inclement weather, and that one I think it's like snow or whatever,
Hmm.
but she has like agoraphobia and can't really like step out of her house, and then she sees people and she's scared of them coming in, and people do come in, and there's like an intruder, so that kind of has those
Yeah.
vibes. So it
I can probably
reminded
think
me a
of a couple
little
old
bit.
Twilight Zone episodes that might have had
Yeah,
that feel too. Because I mean,
sure.
isolation is, I mean, not only thematically, but it's something a lot of authors
Yeah.
address in work. It's just a common. We feel isolated as people. We're in this big
Hmm.
blue green ball, and
Yeah.
yeah, we have friends and family, but we still have this individual isolation and trying to relate to all that. So it's a common theme, and maybe I haven't given Frida enough credit on this book for that. I mean, the title, "The Intruder," alone is now making me think. What was the intruder? If you're looking at the title as thematic, what is the intruder? And maybe
Yeah.
it's this trauma and abuse that I initially glossed over because I was so
Sure.
focused on plot.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Like the intruder not necessarily being like the physical little
Yep.
girl that goes there, but it's a metaphor for like
Yep.
something else, right? Or symbolic
Yep.
for something else. So, since we've read a lot, right? So I want to ask people in the audience like have you read Frida books? Which ones have you read? D, I know you have your checklist there. Do you want to share with us which ones you have read?
This is and I don't even remember why I did this. I think it was when they started re-releasing her back catalog on her new publisher. I was trying to get an idea of what was out there, so I grabbed this list. There's 31 items on the list with looks like 3 or 4 of them are short stories. So in essence, 31 books that she's written. I'm about halfway through. Oh, what? Hold on. I missed one. I read The Surrogate Mother. Let me check that off. I missed that.
Uh,
So
Nice.
yeah.
So, I've also read quite a few of them. I don't think I've read as many as you. I don't have the. You need to send me that checklist.
Okay.
So if you can send it to me, send it
I
to
will
me.
do that.
So that I can accurately say how many I've
Yeah.
read. But I think I'm more of a laid back Frida reader. I read her usually strictly on my Kindle, and I've said this on my videos before. I normally don't buy her books. I've only purchased the two, that the ones we've had live shows
Yeah.
for, that we've had discussions for, because I find it easier to review the book and
Yeah.
talk about it and remember, because I feel sometimes on my Kindle, I going back and looking through stuff is difficult.
Yeah.
But I've pretty much feel like I've read a lot of her stuff that's on Kindle Unlimited, and I always read it as entertainment. It's always a good
Yeah.
time. Like, I'm always gonna have a
Yeah.
good time with a Frida book. So I
Yeah.
I like that.
It's always one of
Um,
those books that I'm going to pick up and finish in a day or two.
correct.
I'm
It's a
either going to
palate
like
cleanser.
hit a stride and just have to finish it. I'm not going to bed till 3, 4 in the
Correct.
morning, or it's like, okay, this is an
Yeah.
okay book. I'll finish it tomorrow. I'm not, you know,
Yeah, her books are just great palate cleansers. And
yeah,
if you've read like you're in the middle of a big book that's taking you a while,
yeah,
that you can go to that for like a little
yep,
break and be done in like a day or two. And I really feel like that's where her
yeah.
books shine. So now that we kind of talked about some of the ones that we have read, how does this book, The Intruder, rank among other Frida thrillers? Like, where would you place this one um in your list?
Um, I initially probably would have said middle of the pack, but I think maybe it separated itself a little bit after discussing it to not
Okay.
necessarily near the top, but
Oh,
not necessarily an average free to read. I think there's probably more to this.
yeah.
I know one project I've wanted to do is go through and reread what I have and do like a tier list of what her
Fun.
what's the absolute best Frida book versus okay you should avoid this. So maybe when I go to if I do that and I do a reread of it, it'll get up to higher. But I would definitely say it's not middle of the pack as I thought coming into this live stream. It definitely there's like I said I something bypassed me when I read this book.
Yeah, I agree. And I would originally have said it was like a average mid-tier kind
Yeah,
of Frida. It wasn't like a 5 star. Like, and again, I think I've only given like maybe three of them 5 stars, maybe three. I think there's a lot of, for me, for with Frida, there's a lot of five, there's like 3 or 4 5 star,
yeah,
a lot of 3 stars. A lot
yeah,
of them have gotten 3 stars, and maybe one or two that I've given like a 2 star. Like, my
yeah,
lowest is a 2 star. I don't think I've ever given her books so 1 star.
yeah.
Um, so this is definitely middle, but higher up on the middle.
Yeah, I only have maybe three that I would say are 5-star category for me
Yeah,
for free, and everything else is a 3 or a 4. It's a good read. I love getting through it, but
correct.
you know, once you have an author that you have so much access to their work, you inevitably you start comparing. Oh, well, this wasn't as good as Never Lie, or this wasn't as good as The Housemaid, or this was
Correct.
better than the Tenant. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where readers it's challenging being a reader because you compare it to what else you're reading, other
Hmm.
authors and other books, or are you strictly just comparing it with what she has written before? And I'm so enthusiastic about her as a reader that I do tend to compare it with what she's written before, especially now that she's so mainstream and she's so popular.
Correct.
Going forward, and we got Dear Debbie coming out in January. I'm eager to read that. So
Correct. Okay, so let me move on to um we're coming up on our hour mark, so I
yeah,
do want to, can't believe it's been an hour. So
almost.
let's go to talk a little bit about some of our next live shows. So let's talk about that. So um we are going to be having sometime soon in the future a live show on the Hitchcock Hotel. Hold it up. Yeah, mine is down there. So the Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Roble. I'm not sure if Dee has read that one yet. I finished that one already.
I haven't, but I will probably read it before I read the antidote. So I'll probably actually end up reading this next.
Perfect. So if you guys would like to read along with us or join us, we are planning on reading The Hitchcock Hotel. It's basically a man who buys this building and turns it into a Hitchcock themed hotel. And then he invites some of his friends over for a gathering. And yeah, he has
I can't wait. I'm a
nefarious
huge Hitchcock fan.
motives. I love that. And the movies play a big role. He at least 5 or 6 times, like they bring up at least 5 or 6 movies,
Awesome.
and go into detail about the connections of those movies to the book. So it's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
back in the day,
I
the
really
AMC
enjoyed that.
channel every Sunday night at 10 o'clock would play a Hitchcock movie, and that was always like Sunday 10 o'clock.
So
We're gonna watch some
good.
Hitchcock.
Yeah. And then, as if that's not enough, we still also will be doing a live show on 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I believe D finished officially.
Yes, I just finished it.
Okay, so we will be joined by Michelle from Literary Me. The three of us will be having this. Actually, the four of us, because Ariel read this with us,
Oh,
and
awesome.
he's about to finish too. So the four of us will be reading this since we did do this as a buddy read. But I know this is a book that has a lot of fans. Lots of people love this
Yeah.
book and have read this book. So we would love it if you would join us for that live show, because it's gonna be great. And I was telling Dee I'm not done yet with the book. And I'm just loving it. I really feel like I feel strongly about this book. I think it's wonderful.
I'm actually gonna go watch the James Franco miniseries that they
Not
made
seen
based
that.
off it to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to watch that, but I have not seen it. So yeah, guys, I know we're at the hour mark, and Dee, this was so much fun. Thank you
Always.
for
Yep.
reading again with me and doing
I
this
hope you
live
get to go
show
see
with
The
me.
Housemaid.
I want to see that.
Yep.
Um, I
I
would
did.
love to watch it this weekend, opening weekend. I know it's already like Freida was posting about how
Yep.
they're sold out. I don't know if you've seen that,
Yep.
but she keeps saying, "Oh my gosh, all these tickets are sold out."
Yeah, we're going. My wife and I are going Sunday morning. So I just
I
started
love
I'm gonna
it.
I'm gonna reread the book. I'm rereading the book right now. I started it right before I hopped on here with
Okay.
you. So that way
I
until
probably have
figure
to
out.
do a reread of that. It's
Yeah.
been a while.
It's a quick. It's Freida
Yeah.
McFadden's, like you said, they're just quick, easy books. So I figured I was like, you know what, I want to see what the differences between the book and the movie are. And it's been over a year since I've read it, so I figured I'd reread it.
Yeah, for me too. For me, it's been a while too.
But I have been
And
looking
have you read the
forward to.
sequels?
Yes, I've read everything but the short story about her wedding. That's the only one I haven't read yet.
Okay, I haven't read the sequels. I've only read the original.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The second one's good. Third one, yeah, man. That's a different discussion for
Oh,
another time. But
gotcha.
I'm just excited for this. To introduce more people to Freida McFadden, and those Freida McFadden books that I really, really love. You know, if this movie does really well, they've already announced
Yeah.
they're going to do one movie. Then that's just the opportunity that some of her other stories that are really, really good also possibly make it to the movie screen or the television. So
Yeah. I think a lot of people are gonna go out for The Housemaid, because that one's like that, I think, is her most popular book,
oh yeah, and it's got Sydney Sweeney in it. I mean, everybody in America loves
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney right now. So I mean.
All right, this was so much fun. Thank you, Dee. Thank you to everyone who joined us. If you're watching the replay, please make sure you comment and let us know what you thought about The Intruder. And check out Dee's channel if you're not subscribed already. Make sure that you do that. And yeah, I look forward to catching you guys in our next live.
Hope everybody has good holidays.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.